First 2022 regular meeting of the Fenton Community High School District 100 Board to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Figueroa.
Here.
Haid.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
Redzinski.
Here.
Rago.
Here.
Tingpo Pong.
Present, we have a quorum. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. James, please read our Fenton Bison mission, beliefs, and Bison Way statements.
Yes. Our Fenton mission statement: to cultivate successful, passionate, empowered learners through rigor, relevance, and relationships. Our Fenton belief statements: successful, passionate, empowered learners thrive when we provide a safe, caring, welcoming environment. Diversity, equity, and inclusion unify our community. School and home collaborate as one. We champion innovative teaching and engaged learning. With state-of-the-art facilities, we infuse social emotional learning into academics and culture. We prepare students to fulfill their civic responsibility, and we immerse students in authentic life experiences. Our Bison Way: students and adults at Fenton High School create a safe, caring, empathetic environment where we believe in each other, respect diversity, communicate openly, grow together, and hold each other to high expectations to become the leaders and innovators of the future.
Thank you, James. We will now have our new board member candidate take the oath of office and seat them in their new position. Please go ahead and do that, Ken.
Want me to stand or sit or a little both?
Yep, stand up and look at our flag and go for it.
Oh, one.
I think you're okay right there. Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
I, William Kent Kovac, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the member of the Board of Education of Fenton Community High School, District 100, in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school's district assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board, while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can only be made by a majority vote at a public board meeting. I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in decisions through ethical and constructive channels. As a part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district. I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course of Fenton Community High School District 100. I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with the state law. I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community's school to advance the vision of Fenton Community High School District 100. I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision of the board has created, fostering excellence from every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kovac. May I have a motion to approve the appointment to the new school board member? Motion in a second, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Leo. And let's take a roll call.
Rago.
Yes.
Figueroa.
Yes.
Haid.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Redzinski.
Yes.
Tingpo Pong.
Yes, motion passed. Congratulations, Mr. Kovac.
Thank you, sir.
Just want to read your statement real quick. So, welcome to the Fenton Board of Education. Part of your role on this board is to also fill the role of co-chair on the policy committee, along with myself. So I look forward to working with you on all those capacities.
I'm very excited to be participating, and thank you guys for bringing me on.
Great, great. Now we go to public hearing. We'll now open the public hearing for the 2022 tax levy.
Okay, we ready? All right. Sure, I wanted to start by kind of reviewing what we've done so far with the tax levy for 2022. Thus far, we've completed the following steps. We've looked at our financial projections in July of 2022, which helps develop the budget, and this is going to support the 23-24 budget. November 16th, at that meeting, we approved the estimated levy at that time and established a public hearing date for tonight. And then the Truth in Taxation Notice was published in the Daily Herald on December 12th, 2022. And I should note that the levy has been unchanged since November 16th. So what you're seeing tonight is what you saw back in November. I also included the Truth in Taxation law information just to have as a reminder. We typically don't do a formal public hearing because we haven't levied more than 5%. This year we are, just because of the way the CPI landed and new property and so on. So the taxing district must give notice and hold a public hearing if the levy estimate is greater than 5% increase over the prior year's extension. So that's what we're doing this evening. And as I said, we've published it in the paper, and we're now at the next step of the final piece of it. I did want to kind of review the sources of revenue and the percentages of each one that it represents. Our local revenues are 88.3%. The bulk of that, of course, is our property taxes. State revenue is 6.6%, and federal revenue is about 5.5%. And that's pretty consistent with what it's been for at least 10 years plus. And it's not uncommon to have your local revenue, property taxes, be the majority of your revenue sources for Illinois school districts, particularly in northern Illinois. The one new piece this year I just wanted to mention, and this is included in the resolution that the board will act on later on this evening. We are required now to disclose our cash reserves. So in the packet later on, you'll see I included the November treasurer's report. We, of course, have that presented to the board every month, but I did include it with the resolution just so we are in compliant. And it's pretty, it's not real rigid in terms of the guidance to present that information. So I think they kind of left it up to the districts in terms of how they want to do it and at what point in time. So I thought we'd just present the current balances as of November, the end of November, which is included in your packet, and those cash reserves are $35,215,306.34. So just so everyone's aware of that. And then our next slide just presents the levy at a glance. It compares the 2021 extension to the 2022 extension. And of course, the 2022 extension is kind of driven off the 2021 extension. But if you look about 3/4 of the way down, the total capped funds, the bolded lines, the fourth column in, the total capped funds are projected at $28,229,531, and that's a change of almost $1.6 million for a 6% increase over the previous year's extension. Our debt service is slightly less. It's a minus 1.04%. So the overall adjustment, projected increase for all funds is at 5.8%. So it's at $28,974,731. And then the final slide just shows the levy history. I think the board is certainly, as we showed this last time, but it just gives you a depiction of the blue line is the requested amount, the orange line is the actual extension, and this just kind of shows the tax cap in action and how it controls what we request and what actually is provided to the taxing body. And that's what it's doing what it was intended to do. So we're not sure, of course, when we do levy what the new property will be. That's why we inflate it somewhat to make sure we capture everything available to us. But again, we're only going to get what the new property is, and that's an estimate at the time we file the levy. So for that decade or so of years there, you can see that the orange line is slightly less than the blue line through 2021, through last year. So that's the high-level overview of the levy for the hearing. We'll ask the board to act on the formal resolution later on this evening to formally adopt the 2022 levy.
Thank you, Bruce. Are there any questions or clarifications needed this time for our audience members here in attendance? I don't see anyone. So we'll now close the public hearing for the 2022 tax levy. Thank you, everyone. Now we turn back to the regular meeting of the education meeting. Any public comments, Mary? Do we have any public comments?
None this evening.
Okay. So next we go to recognition. Doc?
Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, we are going to focus on our very own Dr. Batson, who's in attendance here today. So we're very excited to congratulate him on winning the Innovative Technology Director Award from Tech and Learning. This is a national publication that delivers news on technology and education. He was one of 3 winners in the Chicagoland area. The nomination focused on his contributions with Fenton's equity mission. And there's a few notable efforts here that we wanted to highlight that I'm sure you're aware of, but it's good to think back on, is obviously Fenton's one-on-one Chromebook initiative, which provides access to all students to have technology in the classroom. The financial decisions that have been made along the way to maintain this initiative, which also includes substitute Chromebooks. As you know, there's a need for that if there's something wrong with one of the Chromebooks or a student forgot one, the loaner program. Internet hotspots for students that they can check out and take home. And this was started even before the pandemic, but took on extra significance during the pandemic, of course, but we still maintain that program. We've also worked on corporate donated laptops to parents who don't have computers, so that addresses equity within the community. Affordable acquisition of the calculators, so we know that each student has a calculator that they need to be successful. And then finally, our vaccination efforts, which we, as James is going to review, we even had one this school year. The use of technology so it's easy for people to access and sign up, and for a smooth running of vaccination programming. So all these, all the winners were recognized at a conference in New Jersey. And so we'd like to thank Dr. Batson for leading these initiatives so that all of our students have access to needed technologies. So Dr. Batson, please. Here you go, and the mic is yours.
Okay. Just real quick, while this is intended to be a individual award, a tech director award, it really, to me, is an award for Fenton. It's about the equity journey we've been on, and we've been on long before I arrived. I've just hopefully been some part of that to be able to push that forward. To give you an idea of how it all came about is they host, this particular publication hosts these regional summits. And they're sort of an invitation. You get invited to these as somebody that they recognize in the area. And when they invite you, they ask you to sort of tell the story about who you are, who your district is. And I told the story of our equity journey and really what we've done in terms of, especially in terms of the technology that we've done, and we've been ahead of the curve on, you know, all those things that Sam was talking about. We've been ahead of the curve on many of those things and many more. And after receiving my submission initially, they contacted me. They said, well, would you like to lead a discussion session on equity as part of our summit? I said, I'd be happy to, you know, and we had some more conversation, and then everything evolved into eventually, you know, receiving this award at the summit. I had no idea, you know, it was a complete surprise. So this happened early in November. This was a regional thing. It happened out here in Naperville, and then all those award winners from all over the nation were invited then to a national summit in New Jersey at the Liberty Science Center in Jersey City, New Jersey. So I attended there with fellow recipients, one individual from Barrington, one individual from New Trier, who received awards, so in pretty good company there. But again, this is about Fenton. This is about all the people that work here and really go to support our students and our community to really provide what's needed to learn and to grow. So thank you.
You're getting a picture. Come on up.
I tried my real certificate in my office. All right, I'll sneak in here.
Make sure his wife gets a copy. She doesn't want that. Good job, Tim.
I think we go back into informational. Is that right, James?
Sure.
Yeah.
First up would be Dr. Benson. Informational item. Next slide, please, Jim.
Okay, MTSS update, and tonight we'd like to, as you know, this has been an ongoing series of the interventions that we're working on here at Fenton, primarily in response to the pandemic and learning loss. But so tonight we're going to focus on academic interventions. Next slide, please. Yeah, there we go. And this is all a review. As we focus on the component of MTSS tonight, we're focusing on academics. So math is an area, as you may have heard, particularly hit hard by the pandemic as far as learning loss goes and trying to make up for lost learning in that area, and it's been a particular challenge that we're taking on. So even as quickly as second semester here, we're introducing the foundations of Math 1, 2, and 3. You may recall Math 1, 2, and 3 is our integrated math program that we moved to a few years back. So really we're focusing now on the fundamentals of Algebra Part 1, and so that'll be in Math 1. And then as you move on to Math 2 and 3, we're looking at Part 2 of Algebra. So parents have been communicated with. It's been very well received to this point because we want students to have success in math again. And so that's the focus. And so we've got a team of teachers that have been meeting. They're doing an excellent job of focusing on those math fundamentals that students need to succeed. And then they'll get caught up over their career here at Fenton. So that's a big initiative for us, and we're very excited about seeing results where students have more success. We're also looking at math interventions in other areas. For example, Bison Orange, which is a program we started years ago where students are with a Fenton teacher working on academic types of interventions. We're doing more what we call push in, which means we have a math learning lab individual who actually goes into these Bison Oranges and works with students that are struggling in math. So rather than taking them out of their element, we're putting people into their environment, which is a common theme. We're also doing the same thing in study halls. We ran data and we noticed that there are some kids struggling in math in study hall, And of course, they're studying, maybe some aren't studying as much as we'd like them to. So what we're doing is we're trying to personalize the intervention, again, by having the push-in philosophy where someone could go in and work with students and help them improve their skills. So this is all happening second semester. Next year, you may recall, we talked about foundations of math for ninth grade. So based on how the pilot goes this second semester, we could see additional math 2 and 3 foundations for next school year. And then we have an academic literacy program here for freshmen. It's focused primarily on English and writing and reading. It's provided that extra support that students need. But for next year, what we're doing is we're basically saying it's also math literacy. And so on certain days, students would be working on maybe their writing literacy, and on other days working on their math, because obviously they go hand in hand. And these are core level courses that students really need to be successful in for us, and we figure we can intervene that freshman year. This would also supplement the math and English course they're in. So basically, instead of an elective, they would take this. And also, we're looking at having what we call like on and off ramps, where maybe someone is succeeding and maybe it's halfway through the semester. Maybe we can have an off ramp into an elective where they don't just stay there just because we thought that they needed to be there. And at the same time, as our teams, we may be able to bring a student in for extra support that maybe we didn't identify, or maybe a transfer student that we didn't really know particularly well. So these are all things that we're working on second semester and for next year. Also, a few other points of emphasis. We're always academic and SEL supports in Bison Orange and Study Hall. The same push-in type mentality we're also doing where individuals are going into the study halls and working in groups, working on whether it be like academic functioning or whether it be social emotional type topics. So it's a captive audience of small groups, so it's worked out well. They're not missing their other academic time. We're also looking at check in, check out. So if that's new to you, basically, the students check in, check out with a trusted individual when needed. And we're already reaching out to some teachers primarily that would be a good support person, and then matching them up with certain students that we've identified as needing sort of a positive role model to work with them. So we're doing that. And then throughout the year, as you've heard, we're emphasizing the importance of attendance. We have a variety of interventions going on where we personalize, we call kids down, not just go to class, come to school, but, you know, what's going on? How can we help? How can we provide assistance so that you're here? Because we know the connection of if you're here and you're in class, typically our students do well versus those that aren't. So we continue to do that throughout second semester. Next year, I mentioned earlier targeting Bison Orange, not only with push-in, but also the curriculum. So we're going to do some professional development in that area where kids are taught executive functioning skills. Now, one might say, well, you should probably have that already, right? But we know not every student does. And much the efforts of the sender districts, some kids need more direct instruction on how to be prepared, how to stay organized, and those types of things. So we can't assume everyone has these concepts. And then finally, I wanted to mention that we do have online learning for students that are behind and struggling. It's a way where they go through modules and gain credit, but we're looking for a more cohesive program to start next year, which is called an ALOP-funded program, which is through the ROE. And basically what that would be is a program where you have the students, like let's say 15 students, and it's a more cohesive program, perhaps one staff member, where not only are they working on gaining credits through online learning, but a more career pathway focused. Obviously, we spent a lot of time through Michelle Papanikolaou talking about our programs here and programs of study and making connections to real world industries. And so what we're looking to do now is how can we incorporate that so a student that maybe is a little demoralized, doesn't really see the point, now we can not only get the academic credits that they need, but how could we prepare you for life? And so we think that's going to be a more appealing approach for kids that maybe aren't, some kids may not attend because they're, you know, going through a computer program maybe isn't working for them. So looking at alternative ways. There's also funding mechanisms through the state that we can access for that. So we already met with the ROE on this and looking forward to bringing something probably this spring to the board to let you know, put more form to it. Right now it's kind of in the beginning phases, but we need something. So, because the vast majority of our kids succeed, but not everyone. And you know what? We always talk a lot about interventions, but we had the brilliant idea. Why don't we talk to the kids a little bit, and you know, and bring it to the board? So here's some actual quotes. We were talking about Bison Orange. You can read through it. It says, "Loved it. Wish I had this when I was a freshman." Very positive. Getting help. It's only helpful when you put in the effort. And one student was like, "Yeah, I'm meeting my goals. I have all A's. So hey, that's really working well." So kudos to them. Yes.
Basically bison, what used to be bison time?
No. So that's a good question. This is an actual period during the day. It's a support period. So, so Bison Time is the resource during the day that all students have. So this is through our teams, we've identified certain students that maybe are behind in credits or need extra support. And so it's a teacher with, let's say, 10 to 12 students in there, and the teacher works with them on various skills and keeping up and seeing how they're doing academically in Power School and the like, right?
I'm sure you mentioned it before, but.
No, that's okay. That's a, yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that. I
This
probably
is
should have,
This is part of the MTSS.
yes, right,
talked about.
right, yeah. But it's a good to clarify. No, that's okay. We have a lot of acronyms and orange and blue and things like that, so. The SMART goals make my grades better. And then here we go. Yes, my grade went up because I focused more in the class knowing the SMART goals was there. So anyway, it was kind of neat to see the positive reinforcement, and maybe we can talk to students a little bit more that are receiving supports, right? And
Yeah.
report back to the board on how it's impacting them.
Listen, I'm go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question now regarding the math learning lab. Is there like a teacher there?
Yes.
Or
So we have two learning labs. One is for, we kind of say like an English or writing type of lab, and the other one is more math science. So we have certified teachers that are there. They're not compensated as a full-time teacher would be. But what they do, especially the math one, is we kind of tweaked what we do in there this year, and that individual can go into math classes and work with the math teacher, like if a certain group needs support, or they're trying to review some concepts. So he's going more into math classes, and there's also opportunities where students can get help in the math lab, like during the lunch period and things like that. So that was something that came about through the ESSER funds, and how can we develop areas where students can receive assistance. And so that's been intact for, this is the second year. We'll probably have that again next year.
are there a lot of students using the math lab?
Well, that was one of the things that the reason why we're having the individual go more into the math classes is we looked at the data and we'd like to see more, you know what I mean? Even though we've tried some initiatives, it's one of those things where how's a student gonna get there? We didn't wanna take them out of class, so, but he's a resource if the teacher wants to break up into groups and can assist, so. Yeah, so we feel that that individual is being utilized well this school year with these push-in type concepts. You know, the other thing is, just to bring it up, that individual sometimes, like, especially during COVID, if we needed a sub, they can also be a substitute during the day. Then unfortunately, we close the lab down. But, you know, we have multiple uses for that individual if, for some reason, they're not utilized on a given day.
Yeah, it's great to see the positive comments. It gives you some
Uh-huh.
encouragement. Can we talk about, you know, some of the students that might be struggling despite of MTSS and how we intervene or handle it or help the students that are struggling? What's the next level and what do we do with that?
Right. So, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I think one of the things we talked about at other meetings is we have these social emotional groups that have started. Those are very important where individual kids, instead of trying to problem solve one at a time, you can have a group of students and support each other with our staff members and working through an actual curriculum like 6 to 8 weeks. So that's been an improvement. Now we want those to continue to grow because we're doing some attendance type groups because, I mean, that's really one of the toughest things is when a kid isn't going to class consistently or not being here consistently. We even have a program where different teachers, staff members rotate and pick up kids that have maybe missed the bus. And one might say, well, they missed the bus. I mean, that's kind of their fault. But it's a personalized approach that, you know, even if you can help a handful of kids because they feel like someone cares about them, they're willing to go out there and pick them up. And there's sort of this pressure on them to, you know,
Yeah.
people are counting on them, you know,
there's
and we're willing to
accountability
do that. So each story's different, but I think the more we're committed to trying to make a personalized connection and meet them where they're at. And hey, if that works for some, great. It doesn't work for everyone, but we're certainly trying, and I think that's the key. So, and it's not just, let's be honest, it's not just counselors and social workers, it's teachers making connections with kids, right? And I feel like we all kind of have that as a system, that heart that people are going to be reaching out to you. But hey, some of our kids are going through difficult situations, and it's not all roses, but the more we can make it real and impact them and give them a pathway to success, I think once they can kind of see that and see some results, it helps. And that's why the math's critical because, you know, these kids need some success that have struggled. And it's important to note we do have some students in math that are doing great, and we need to continue to challenge them. But, you know, it's like we have some data, you know, right now that we need to act on. And there's this whole social emotional side, which the math teams recognize that, you know, once you start having some success and you're doing better on the assessments, you feel better about it, you have a better attitude, and things can improve. So.
We have studies showing emotional intelligence is really the key to success.
Mhm.
So, you know, wherever kids start, and the good thing is emotional intelligence can be developed,
Right.
learned. So,
Right.
good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? We're good. What's the next item?
Next slide, Jim. Dr. Banson, you still up?
I'm still up. All right. This was really fun. So here are the owners here of Green Street, and they donated $1,000 through the efforts of our students. So round of applause for that. So that's the check, which I quickly deposited in accounts payable, Bruce. I literally ran down, no, I didn't run, but anyway. But that was fun, and here are the kids watching this in class. It was really great. But I'm just going to read from this because those that maybe weren't, I know Kent may be new to him. So we had this burger challenge with Green Street Grill, and we had various choices. And the winner, here's the tag on the side. It says, "This burger is as real as it gets, and it's not just a better burger, it's the best. Your buns are served with a pretzel twist, fresh lettuce, ripe tomatoes, creamy mayo, and your typical not and is that a knot there? The flag's in the way. And not your typical boring beef. It has been replaced with delicious crispy chicken. So it was actually the chicken sandwich that won. Better than the best will be the golden waffle fries inside. So they came in. I think there's going to be even more of a partnership because the owners love it and the kids respond to it. And this is a picture of Mr. Garcia's third period class. And it's a win-win because, you know, these donations came as a percentage of whatever monies they made or they think that they made on because of this initiative, because it brought people into Green Street. So it was a great experience. And kudos to Mr. Garcia, who's a first-year teacher with us, and he's really showing the kids real-world initiatives and making a difference. So we're excited.
So I wanted to jump in real quick, give a little more explanation. That first picture was the 4 girls that invented that burger, and they started with everybody pairing up and making burgers and competing against each other in class. And then their burger won, and everybody else in their class joined their team. And then the 3 different classes competed publicly. So I'm sure you saw there were a bunch of signs everywhere. They even went to Village Hall and City Hall and talked to the mayors and the village managers. They got signs put up in local businesses. They changed their taglines. They created social media accounts and started tweeting at different important people in town and different kids. They were here for one of those board meetings. They had a stack of flyers going into the basketball game. And it was great to see them working together to drive home their objective and then to pivot mid-mission when things were coming up. And this is exemplary too because they were all competitors for a while and then the whole class came together to join forces and push their burger. So they generated over $5,000 in revenue for Green Street Grill. Mm-hmm. And the restaurant made an agreement at the beginning, 20% of whatever the students generated came back here. So I remember coming back from Triple I, those signs were all over the place. It was impressive.
Yeah, thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Mr.
Yeah,
Stanley.
so it's a real big shout out to Green Street for
Absolutely.
for helping us do that.
Right, yeah.
Key point there too is the partnership that's going to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
How did a chicken sandwich win the burger battle?
Right.
I got a problem with
Chicken
this.
sandwich battle.
I got a problem with
And a
this.
burger wins.
I think the real question for me here is the sandwich still there? Because now that I'm hearing about it, I want to go and give it a try.
That's a great question.
That's a-
Rick?
I don't
Is
think
it
so.
still on the menu? I'm not-
Well, hey,
okay,
John,
all
I
right.
think that's the marketing genius is the chicken sandwich won a burger to contest.
We move on to our equity report. It's a video from Mr. Mike Barago.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Barago, and this is your equity report. Let's kick off this report with our commemorative observances and holidays. Let's begin by giving Kate Ward a big shout out for putting together professional learning opportunities that are equity focused. On November 7th, our staff spent the morning engaging in a number of professional development opportunities. Equity focused sessions included PBL in the Culturally Responsive Classroom by Ms. Rachel Gentile, EL Classroom Strategies by Ms. Michelle Rodriguez and Mr. Lorenzo Rubio, and Social Justice for Educators Mini Boot Camp by Ms. Tara Chavez. Our diversity committee teamed up with Ms. Julia Bray and student activities groups Black Student Union, Association of Latin and Alice Students, Brave, Polish Students Groups, Language Club, and American Sign Language Club to decorate their own holiday tree. The event was a great success, and thank you to all of the activity sponsors and students for participating. Well done by all those who participated. We had a number of students who spent time researching and putting together a one-day acknowledgement of Native American heritage during the month of November. Alexa, Ariana, Phoebe, and Paula created a playlist of music that was played during the passing period. They decorated our windows with facts about prominent Native Americans who have made an impact in our history. And lastly, they developed a short announcement during Bison Time that highlighted the historical significance of Thanksgiving and the roles of Native Americans. Our District Equity Leadership Team is steadfast in its commitment to fulfilling our goals under our District Equity Action Plan 2.0. The Family and Community as Agency Strand members are currently planning for our January 19th Equity Advisory Committee meeting, and the goal of the meeting is to increase community engagement with our parents groups, Padres Unidos, Polish parents groups, and so on, as well as collaborate with our feeder district around the topic of accessibility and advocacy. Thank you, Ms. Michelle Rodriguez and Mr. Lorenzo Rubio, for spearheading this work. The System Strand is kicking off its goal of reviewing board policies in January. The purpose of the review is to revise, if necessary, current policies to ensure inclusive language. The Student Voice, Climate, and Culture Strand has made adjustments to maximize opportunities to work with students. The topics in our meetings have been reorganized into 3 categories: diversity, climate and conduct, student learning. Students are able to select one or more strands that they feel passionate about participating in. Thank you, Mr. Jason Madel, Ms. Kate Ward, and Ms. Julia Bray for helping create a safe and brave environment for students to provide feedback so we can better serve them. Our teaching and learning strand is carried out by our instructional coaching team and Ms. Kate Ward. Next semester, they will kick off their culturally responsive teaching programming through our professional learning cohorts. We will also kick off department and/or division discussions around diversity and social justice through the book Case Studies on Diversity and Social Justice Education by Paul C. Gorski and Seema G. Potini. Big shout out to Ms. Stephanie Jackson and Ms. Kate Ward for their leadership. Lastly, our professional learning strand has continued to provide podcast discussions throughout the semester. Topics around cultural responsiveness and ELLs, daring to speak up about race, and uncovering your implicit bias led to great discussion during our lunch and learns. Big shout out to Ms. Melissa Toe, Ms. Ranjana Rajendran, Mr. Mike Mitchell, Mr. Lorenzo Rubio, and Ms. Michelle Rodriguez for providing the discussion opportunities. The Strand is also looking forward to collaborating with the Diversity Committee as it continues to finalize its planning calendar for celebrating and acknowledging diversity. Current plans includes the celebration and acknowledgement of the Lunar New Year, Black History Month, Women's History Month, Ramadan, Mental Health Awareness, Day of Silence, and Polish Constitution Day. That's a wrap for our equity report. Until next time, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah Sameach, and Happy Holidays to all.
Happy holidays, Mr. Braga. Thank you for that. Next item, real quick, is semester 1 review. Board, we had a good semester 1. I hope you feel that way, the same to you. Shout out to our students, our staff, our administrators, and Board of Education for this semester. I just wanted to highlight a few topics that took place this semester. There's a whole list of them, but we don't have time for that, so we revised it a little bit. The first one is student academics. As Dr. Benson was stating earlier, our focus really is to assist students with learning loss through MTSS. As you guys know, it's multi-tier system of support. You shout out to our senior Angela Costa Leon, was selected by College Board for the National Hispanic Recognition Award. This was a national award. Our business classes partner with Green Street Grill, as you know, for the burger battle. A donation of $1,000 by Green Street Grill was given to our business department. 20 of our students earned a perfect score on the AP exam. We increased TCD enrollment. We actually doubled it, close to doubling it this year, from basically 45 to close to 100. We began rolling out our dual credit courses, and we expanded our career tracks, as Dr. Benson mentioned earlier. Some pictures here, top right are a few of our students who scored a perfect score on their AP exam, and some different recognition here. Next up is student extracurricular. Junior Sarah Guerrero Gorosteta was chosen by ISB, the Illinois State Board of Education, to be Student Advisory Council. She is the only DuPage student to represent it at the state level. We're very excited for Sarah. We've known Sarah since she was in 8th grade in Blackhawk, and she continues to be a strong leader. Also, shout out to our boys soccer team, repeated as a regional champion. Our girls volleyball team set a school record for the most win in a single season. Doran Vasquez, our senior, selected by the Chicago Bears for the Latino Youth Leadership Award. 4 choir students and 2 band members were selected to the Illinois MEA District 1 Ensemble. Aiden Torres, senior, selected to the Illinois MEA All-State Honors Choir. Our senior baseball players, Nick Tenajero, Taylor Siskursky, and Nick Hollis, signed to play baseball in college. Very exciting there. Danny Trentadua graduated early and signed to play collegiate softball as well. In regards to the community, parents outreach and school-wide, it seems such a long time ago in September, 400 vaccinations were administered within our community. That's pediatrics as well as adults. We had the June election here at Fenton, first time in our history in June. We kicked off our strategic plan 2.0. As Mike Barago stated earlier, we're also working in our DELT 2.0. DELT stands for Diversity, Equity, and Leadership Team. Our September Kermesse was a huge success. 1,000 individuals attended that event. Strong Latino showing there. Our November blood drive exceeded its goal. Our student volunteer tiers big part of the Rotary Coat Drive. Student volunteer operated hot chocolate booth at the busy holiday train event, raising $500 for the food pantry. Food for families continues to be strong for folks in need. So you can see with these 2 examples here, we are reaching not only academically, but also within our community. Building and technology, the building referendum, we had 2 attempts of it. Unfortunately, we didn't go the way it was, but it was a good attempt in our part. We're moving on with and looking into the flooding mitigation that can take place this spring. Some hardware, HVAC, dishwashers, summer facility projects were completed. Network server replaced, and a new district's cybersecurity platform was installed. So we also do brick and mortars. Staff board admin, Jim Batson, as you heard earlier, was recognized. Fenton Foundation was created about a month ago, which is part of our strategic plan. State Superintendent Dr. Carmen Ayala visited us in June. State Representative-elect Norma Hernandez also made a visit at Fenton in October. And Fenton School Board was among the 33 school boards out of 870 to earn the Illinois Association of School Board 2022 School Board Governance Recognition. So really a lot of great stuff there, some of the positives that come out at all levels of our schools. Next one is here at a glance, board topics. I like to show this at least twice. Go ahead, Leo.
Sorry to interrupt, but I believe there is one guy over here that is doing a terrific job outside, and I want to mention Rick. He's the president of the Bensonville Wooddale Food Pantry. He was elected just a few weeks ago. So I'm going to say that not only academically, just in the community, Fenton is doing the job. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Leo.
Thanks, Rick.
We didn't mention Kermes.
You want to talk a little bit about Kermesse?
Yeah.
A little bit?
About what?
Kermesse.
Oh, the kermesse.
Yeah.
It's always that topic. Okay. Last Friday we had our meeting with the participant of the kermesse, and thanks Carrie, Juliet, James, Mary for being there. The girls were excited, and they are ready to kick off. Rick, we got a great time, man. And believe me, they were anxious to see the board, the guidelines from the community, and believe me, those girls are like a giant snake without head, ready to wake up with someone who can lead it really good in the community. So please, don't let it down. we got the opportunity to go far and beyond like anybody in the history in Bensenville. And they are ready when we are ready, and I'm gonna say that in our previous meeting, we asked the girls when we're gonna have our next kermesse. We were expecting just one. And James and I were prepared for just one more time, and the girls said, no, we want two. We want one in the beginning of the school and one at the end of the school year. So please be there. Don't let it down. And I really appreciate what you guys have done, and believe me, they are ready.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Just wanted to reiterate, our
Yeah.
next kermesse is May 6th. It's a Saturday after Cinco de Mayo. Like what Leo was saying, it was nice to be in the community, and it was great for them to see Carrie and Juliet as board members, so they have a voice to talk to them. Also, Rick and Mary was there, so fantastic. Go ahead. Was it?
That was
Okay.
all. Yep,
Yep,
that was
good
all.
point.
Thank you, guys.
Your advanced board topics, I like, once again, like to show this at least twice a year. So school is cyclical, right? There's always the start of the school, there's the holidays, there's final exams and so forth. Same thing with the board. So you guys probably have seen this before, and just wanted to, really for our new board member Kent here to see this as well. Since we're completed with semester one. So usually in July and September, it's welcome back to school, student demographics reports come from us, tentative budget from Bruce, public hearing of the budget, final approval of the budget, finance audit. So a lot of financial stuff there. Board conference, expense notice that you approve, Illinois Association of Fenton board workshops that you attend, here in DuPage, strategic plan update, we do that in July. Equity Delta update, we usually do that in September. And our regular board meetings as well as committee meetings. So you guys know the drill there. October, December, school report card comes out. We make a report formally to the board. Estimated tax levy final, ARF, which stands for annual finance report, is made. Shared services report, that really means, okay, the shared services, the different companies and associations we share our services with. Annual joint conference, III in November. Course catalog is discussed here by Kate. Shape of Wooddale, our leader here, Kit, knows that very well. Our Illinois Association of School Regional Fall meeting takes place. III, as I mentioned earlier. Draft of the calendar, so what we're doing today. Strategic plan update. Equity Delta update, which Mike has presented here in our regular board meetings. In January and March here, winter, early spring, approval of the school calendar, so we'll do that. Authorizing preparation, publication of a tentative budget, superintendent evaluation, approval of staff plans and FTE, full-time. FTE basically means how many teachers, certified individuals will we have for next year. Extended employment, folks that will work during the summer, notice of non-renewals and dismissals of certified individuals, food service contract renewals with Arbor, student Chromebook purchases, National Board Conference will take place this year in Tampa Bay, district financial projection, Equity Delta update, and usually negotiations. In April and June, approval of board calendar, different from student calendar, student code of conduct revision, Illinois High School School Association membership renewal, school treasury or DAOS. DAOS is TCD in short. We appointed, I used to be appointed, and Representative Michelle Papanikolaou, who's working with career outreach as well as career tracks, is our representative. NASDAQ, our special ed co-op lease agreement. As many of you guys know, they are leasing a classroom here at Fenton. Consumable materials and textbook replenishment takes place during this month. Consolidated grant approval, graduation, and our Illinois Association of School Board Regional Spring Conference. So you'll see this over and over. So it's not a surprise. Hey, look, I didn't know that topic was coming up. Nope, it's there.
Do you guys remember doing all this?
You have. And our more senior individual here, Juliet, has probably seen this at least 6 times now.
Yeah.
So April and June, until start planning for summer school. And summer workshop, our school treasury surety bond is reported this time. Textbook purchase, we start hiring for the next school year. We accept resignation and retirees. We celebrate our retirees. We do the salary adjustment or increase for administrators, at will, and bus drivers. Equity, more equity updates, summer school and programming updates, and summer school fertility projects, and your regular board meeting. So just wanted to reiterate that you'll see that over and over. I believe I gave you a copy of that as well during your onboarding. So one of the topics that we're discussing this quarter is basically our draft calendar. Let me see where that is. Okay, our draft calendar. Once again, keyword here is draft for the 2023-2024 school calendar. As you know, school starts usually at the same time and ends at the same time year after year. Not much changes here. But I just wanted to reiterate that we would like to approve this next month at our January board meeting so we can start sharing with students and parents so they can start their planning for their vacation in their future. We ask input from our staff and our administrators and feeder school administrators just to make sure we're aligned with our feeder schools. Usually, as you guys know, a lot of our high school students babysit their little brothers and sisters, so that's critical. So we're cognizant of that, and we want to make sure we are fulfilling that need for our parents. In addition, we comply with the Illinois State Board of Education's calendar requirements. For example, the number of students attendance per year, which is minimum 176. Also, high school calendars should have a balanced semester 1 and semester 2, right? So algebra should have those same days as semester 1 and semester 2. And lastly, we have to comply with the contract from the different unions here. For example, the holidays that we contracted and agreed upon. So what are the highlights for
James,
Yes?
Have you already coordinated this calendar with the feeder schools? So
Yes.
this has already been coordinated and approved by the feeder schools?
We asked for their input. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty close
As
to
far
it.
as like breaks and
Yes,
all of that?
all the breaks are the same.
Okay.
All the breaks are the same. Start time is the same. As you know, we finish a little bit earlier than the elementary, middle school, because we want our, for the jobs. We want our kids to have first dibs on jobs. So yes, we have gathered feedback. Great question.
I'm sorry, how early do we end before the feeder schools?
We end before Memorial Day, I would say about a week. Graduation, as you remember, is usually here June 7th or 8th for Blackhawk Middle School. Yep. Maximum, Sylvia, I would say 8 or 9 days. Yeah.
It hasn't always been that way though, right? There was
No.
like a.
We aligned it this last couple of years.
That's good.
Once again, just some highlight, first day of school is August 16th. It was the 14th this year. Open house is on the 31st. Parent-teacher conference on the 10th. Second semester begins January 9th. Spring break is aligned with our feeder school. It's usually the last week of March. They know that. We know that. Graduation is on the 19th. We try to avoid Mother's Day for graduation. Usually, is it a week, Mrs. Timmons? After Mother's Day, and the last day of school is usually that Friday before Memorial. Any questions there? So once again, this is the draft. You have that on your board book. Have a look at it. We'd love to approve it next month. Next topic is Fenton Foundation. It's done. That was a strategic plan goal. Thanks to Kit, who inspired all of us to make that happen. The foundation board met last month. Kit is the president, Leo's the vice president, and Bruce is the treasurer for now. I'm sure that will change in a couple of years. But I just wanted to give a huge shout out because there was a lot of behind the scenes engineering and planning for this. Jose was working real hard. Rick, Michelle Papanicolaou worked diligently behind the scenes to accomplish their strategic plan goal. Kit, anything you want to say about the meeting?
No, just looking at the planning process and the thoughtfulness that came along with it, wanted to thank Bruce and Leo for putting the time in as well and dedicating your time to it. Just overall, it's such a positive thing to have available for, as a resource, I think, for Fenton, but also as a way for our community to contribute in any way to the cause of the education of our kids locally. So, you know, as the entry button says, you know, we're open for donations. So please contact us.
Is it the name Fenton Foundation? That's it? Is there?
Keep it simple.
I just,
Thank you. I think next item is the press policy. This is just a FYI. We received a new packet. There are 54 updates with this packet. There are no new policies. Mostly updates, footnotes, and legal references as you've done that in the past. You know, different pages, new laws came in, and so forth. So our goal is on January 25th, we will have a policy meeting at 6 p.m. And on that day, we will dive deeper into these policies, and Jose Jaramillo will facilitate that meeting. He's getting prepped for it. So please take a look at those very exciting documents during the break before the 25th. So more to come on that one. Next item, that's it. That's it for me.
Yeah, that's it. We go to consent agenda. Probably had a chance to take a look at that. Do we have any questions, comments regarding the consent agenda as presented? Folks? No? No. We're good? Okay. So we'll make it easy. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Motion a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
And can we get a roll call?
Rego,
Yes.
Haid,
yes.
Kovac,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Redzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Ting Paul Pong.
Yes, the motion passed. Next is our discussion items. Well, first of all, we went over the tax levy already, so I suppose we can get a motion, a second to adopt the 2022 tax levy. So let me read this real quick, make it legal. So may I have a motion that the Board of Education adopts the following 2022 tax levy resolutions and certificate as presented? Number one, resolution authorizing final aggregate tax levy for the year 2022. Number two, resolution authorizing and directing certain special purpose tax levies for the year 2022. And number three, certificate of compliance with truth in taxation law. Motion a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. That was Mr. Kovac and John. Can I get a roll call?
Rego,
Yes.
Kovac,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Redzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Ting Paul Pong.
Yes, and motion passed, business moves on. Next is the Food Service Emergency Contract Amendment, 2022-2023. I believe, is that you, Bruce?
It is,
Okay.
yes. So some of you may think this is deja vu a little bit, but, you know, last June, we did come to the board with a request from Arbor to increase their contract beyond what the contractual obligations are. It's tied, our contract is tied to the CPI every year, or 3%, whichever is less. They asked for a 7% increase. We agreed to a 6% increase. The board did authorize that because of the rise in prices and operating costs and so on. Since then, for this year, the USDA has further made some accommodations, I guess you could say, with supplemental increases in reimbursement rates to school districts that participate in the National School Lunch Program. Lunch reimbursements have increased by 40 cents per lunch, breakfasts by 15 cents per lunch, and that's really to help with the spiraling food costs that are continue to happen, double-digit increases. And I know I've added, included a lot of information for you to look at, probably maybe a little bit overkill, but it kind of gives you a picture of how things have changed in just a short period of time. So after the USDA made that adjustments to the rates, the Illinois State Board of Education sent out guidance to schools to consider as an option an emergency contract amendment for this school year. So it would only apply to this school year. And it allows for an option of a negotiated rate increase that incorporates an additional amount for food costs. So based on that information and the actions taken by both the USDA and ISB, Arbor is requesting an emergency contract amendment with, due to the rapid inflation of food prices and the Illinois State Board of Education guidance. So we've included that emergency contract amendment for your consideration. I do want to emphasize that it's not mandatory or required. It is definitely optional by the board. We did conduct a financial analysis to look at what that means to accommodate that price increase. We would still operate a self-supporting program, which is what it would have to be in order to make a recommendation to approve this. So based on that analysis, we are recommending to support Arbor's request to approve the emergency contract amendment as we included in the board packet. So that it would be effective on December 1st at the earliest. It would not be retro till the beginning of the year. So ISB acknowledges when the board approves it, whatever month that is, that's when it would happen. It would only be for this year. It would end at the end of the fiscal year, June of 2023. But I think you all can kind of be sensitive to the fact of what food costs have been out there. Price of eggs are kind of, if you can't even find eggs right now, the price is kind of outrageous, among other things, chicken, things like that. So, and they're not insulated from that. They are experiencing those increases as well. So that's kind of where we're at and what we're recommending for the board's consideration. But I certainly would be happy to answer any questions if you have some.
Bruce, point of clarification. You said that it was not retroactive, but if we voted on and approved it now, it would be for December. Do you mean January, or is it retroactive within the month?
It's approved this month, so it would be December.
Okay.
Yeah, retro from December 1st, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yep, sure.
What's the increase again?
It would be 40 cents a lunch we are getting for additional reimbursement, and 15 cents. The other thing that's a little quirky is the board might remember we increased the wages last year. So we were billed an additional amount because that wasn't part of the original contract, that increase in wages. So they billed us an extra amount every month. We get billed for that. But because of this amendment now, the state board is requiring that adjustment be included in the per meal cost. So it looks a little strange. So the meal cost is on page, I don't know if it's 374. So they would bill us 3.9266 for lunches and 1.8541 for breakfasts, and that's up. It's a little bit more than those increases, that 15 cents and 40 cents, because the labor cost is built into that meal cost. So that's, yeah.
What is the disruption if we were to shop on this? Just shop out for contracts? I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not suggesting it, but.
Now it would be virtually impossible to get a vendor on if we were to try to do that in the midst of the school year, but we could certainly plan for that in June, July, yeah, yeah.
I mean, how long have we had Arbor? I hear things are okay, but, I mean, in my past life, as I like to refer to, I mean, it was common practice every 3 to 5 years just to go out to bid to keep people honest. How long have we had Arbor?
I think we're in year 3, yeah.
Okay.
And
I
it's a
remember
5-year
voting them in.
contract, and each year it's a really 5 one-year contracts is really what it is, because we have the board to approve a yearly contract each year, but we can renew it up to 5 years.
Also, we have the ability to renew up to 5 years, and we're not required to keep it for 5 years.
Correct, yes.
Okay. And this is year 3 of 5.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember about 3 years ago, we were shopping and we picked Arbor because of their rates.
Yeah, we had 3 bidders, and they were low bid,
Yeah.
and Arbor won the bid at that time.
And am I correct, back at that time, then we also did like a little taste test too, or no?
Yeah, they were
Yeah, they
very,
brought food over.
I think, generous with that. We actually hosted one over in our offices, and then I think in the school as well. But kids came over and tried different dishes,
Right.
and, yeah.
Okay, I kind of vaguely remember something to that.
Have you lived up to that taste test?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'd hear from the students on that. That's the end result, yeah.
They, oh, for sure.
The
Yeah,
students
yeah,
were
they were,
included
it
on
was
the
all
taste test.
student-driven,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So, we have a choice on voting this down, but likely it's, I see where we're going with that. Okay.
I mean, we can't argue with inflation and the cost of living. I mean, this is coming from the state.
Yeah.
We're following best practices. It is what it is, unfortunately, this year, shall we say?
Well, and I should say that, the rates, the new adjusted increased rates went into effect in September, so we did take that on, that increase, and didn't experience a higher increase in the meal rate, so
Yeah.
that wouldn't, so I guess if there's any consolation, not good for us, not good for them, but, we had 3 months or so without
Yeah.
the increased cost that they kind of further absorbed.
Well, we got a good relationship with them. They've served us, so.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
the budget can absorb this change?
yes.
Did you say this was revenue neutral?
Yeah, it would be a break-even point, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We'd be a little
I
bit ahead of it.
think that
but-
was, that was the statement right there.
Just
Okay.
making sure I heard it right.
Any other questions?
You
Yeah.
mentioned reimbursement from the feds for some of this, is that correct?
The state and the feds, yes.
Taking those reimbursements into consideration, would that cover the total adjustment, or how much? What's
Yeah,
the difference there?
that is taking those into consideration.
Oh, so
The
it's still-
charges we pass along we charge for the full-price meals and the reduced meals. So that is factored in, plus the reimbursement rates.
So the 40 cent, 13 cent, is what you said, right?
40 and 15, yeah.
40 and 15, that's post all of the other adjustments and things like that.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Any other questions? Then I may have a motion that the Board of Education approve the emergency contract amendment for the school year 2022-2023, effective December 2022.
So
Motion
moved.
second. Thanks,
Second.
Carrie. Mr. Kovac, thank you. Roll call, please.
Rego,
Yes,
Lewis,
Yes.
Radzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Kovac,
Abstain.
Ting Po Pong,
Reluctant, yes. Motion passed. So next is our project authorization for stormwater mitigation and stadium renovation. That's yours, James?
Yeah, that's mine. All right, just real quick, at our last board meeting, we discussed the stormwater mitigation project. This evening, we're recommending the board to approve the project. As you guys know, this is on top of our priority, along with our referendum a couple of months ago. It is a must-do. The longer we wait, the more expensive and more damage to our campus that will take place. It's an ongoing issue. It weakens and destroys our building, the foundation, the entranceways, the doors, the indoors and outdoors walkways, the pavements, parking lots, fields, and et cetera. This project, I believe it's both a solution and a prevention of damage. Next slide, please. Look at there. So how will we pay for this? As you guys know, throughout the referendum, we put our skin in the game, to put it frankly, willing to spend up to $10 million of our fund balance. Fund balance is basically our savings account. Both fund balance and annual surpluses have helped the district acquire the resources targeted the most urgent capital repairs, which this is. This last 8 years, the sound fiscal practices have put the district in a position of using the $10 million in fund balance reserves for capital improvements without threatening the objective of maintaining strong fiscal health. Capital projects, we're projecting that it will start late spring. We've started discussing that already. And I just want to quickly go over the scope of the storm mitigation project or flooding. Real quickly here, flooding location, what is going to be addressed in this project. If you look at your bottom right picture here, number 1 and 2, flooding at the south-facing entries west of the main entry will be resolved. Number 3, far left on the picture, flooding at the west end of the school adjacent to the auditorium will be resolved. Number 4, top left, flooding between stadium and the 2-story building will be resolved. We're not touching number 5 because that's the Village of Bensenville stormwater detention and near Logan Queen Street. We are talking in communication with the village on that as requested. Next slide. The project and scope, what will it include? Real quick, I wrote it down. There's a couple here that I would like to discuss here. The scope of the project will include an increased size of existing 24-inch storm sewer, improved drainage along the west side of the school, drainage improvement and restoration from sewer installation, new connecting to existing storm sewers crossing below the railroad, install underground storm detention tanks, and increase the size of existing 6-inch storm sewer regrade area to drain away from the building. Timeline and estimation is our next topic here. So here, as you could see, design and planning will start in January and February. Stormwater permit and review, we've started having that tentative conversation with the Village of Bensenville already. That will speed up in March, April, and May. Bidding and materials procurement will start immediately as well on March, April, and May. And construction, we would like to start once the kids are out here in June. Estimates. Estimates range between the cost of this project is anywhere from $8 million to $10 million. We're asking that it does not exist over $10 million. Construction components include, once again, the flood mitigation, underground stormwater detention, that's the biggest one, stormwater piping and catch basin, paving improvements across our building, running track will be improved. We're going to put in new synthetic turf fields, so both football and soccer will benefit. Once again, bring soccer back to Fenton and to work on some of the stadium lighting. Next slide. That is my report.
Okay, great. Let's have some questions on this. So number 1 is if we were to pass this, the football season would be non-existent for that 1 year.
It will be in existence. It will be off-campus, kid.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
we will have football.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
The section 5, the village is responsible for, Village of Bensenville is responsible for, does it affect, as I saw that it was near the field house, I'm sorry, I saw that it was near the field house, so does stormwater affect the field house? And have there been any discussion about the Village of Bensenville assisting us with getting that done?
Right. With this project, there's a lot of benefits to it, right? It will benefit the field house, number 1, and the entire campus. Now, that stormwater that they have over there, which was installed by the village, will also be alleviated because we have a huge water tank absorbing most of the water before it gets there. So it's really a win for Bensenville and Fenton at the same time.
Okay.
So you have two areas where catching the water will take place.
So that'll lessen the flow going to the baseball and softball fields?
Yes, less flow, yes. There's even talk, I'll jump ahead, there is even talk among administrators is to put the baseball and softball field to higher grounds, even with the water storm mitigation being in place. I think you know that our campus pretty well. It's the practice field that's above ground, and I know we've discussed this a couple of times as a group, and to move softball as well.
So with that, would we be changing the grade in the whole rear of the building? Or would we relocate the fields to another part of the campus to accomplish this?
That is just an idea, John.
I get it,
Yep.
but I'm just.
If that would take place, what will take place if, let's say, I know we're kind of going adjacent a little bit, for that confusion. That's not part of the project, right?
That's
But if we-
what
if- let's say
I'm
we-
looking
yeah,
at here.
right.
So
It's not part of our-
this is farther reaching.
Yes.
This is farther reaching in the project, because that was not something I remember us discussing. So I
Correct.
was wondering if something had changed, is what I was getting
No,
for.
just an idea,
probably.
as explained. I was
Okay.
triggered by Carrie's question.
Okay, so the discussions we had with the village, because some things were discussed prior meeting about potential issues with incomplete piping and other issues. So I know you said you had a good meeting with the village. Is the village looking into our complaints about that problem? Are they going to be doing mitigation as well to supplement our mitigation, so everyone benefits? Or is this still in very preliminary discussion?
Preliminary. That's a great word for it. We're softballing this
Okay.
to the village, as you could tell. Our focus with that first meeting was basically, hey, look, how would the permit look like if this project's put through? Who would be involved? As you know, it gets a little bit more complicated if the county's involved. I think we could all do it in-house. They are aware of it. Anything you want to add, Bruce, with that first meeting?
Yeah, as Mr. Antenko pointed out, that point number 5 on that chart is kind of still sort of in limbo. We hope we can come to an agreement with that. But, that was kind of an agreement that was entered into and developed at, 20 years ago, well before all of our time, to, utilize that area, that low spot as a detention area, stormwater detention area, and that's what it continues to be used for. We're hopeful we can do some more effective things with that going forward. But yes, as Mr. Antenko said, the whole landscape of the area and the building, the grade would change, obviously, and we think with these underground tanks, we've been assured that would resolve our flooding issue. But that one detention area on the, I guess, what is it, the northeast end of the building is still subject to discussions with the village.
Well, I understand that, and it was prior to our time. We can't change the past, but technologies have changed, and we've identified this as a hazard, an issue to our building, and we're doing our part. I would hope that the village would come forward, and if there's a way to mitigate and improve, they do their part, because I think everyone, not just Fenton, but the community as a whole in this part of the village will benefit from improved stormwater management.
We agree, and we pretty much emphasize that to them, I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
That brings up a good point in terms of planning and, in terms of collaboration, cooperation,
Correct.
coordination with the village. If we were to approve this motion, we're approving the mitigation project
Correct.
for $10 million. What about anything that comes up surrounding the village and how they can work with us?
I think that was the point of discussion. Where are they going to be with this project? We're just having that conversation. Right now, they will not be involved in this project except for zoning.
Okay.
Except for zoning. If the question is, will they finance or help finance this? I think it's maybe the question here. I don't think that's the direction.
I don't expect them to finance
Right.
our property.
Correct.
I don't expect, this is ours, this is
Yeah.
stuff we can
Correct.
do. But I would hope by us taking the first step, which we need to do.
Correct.
We could help the village potentially take additional steps to support what we're doing to help fix a larger problem.
That-
Yeah, while
that
we're in
is
it,
the goal.
while we're in it, we might as well look at other opportunities where we can fix other issues that are surrounding the area. Because water goes everywhere, it goes downhill, so yeah.
But my question is, once we do our part, and if that part in section 5 isn't repaired, will it possibly come back later and break what we've fixed? I guess that's what I'm,
Yeah.
I don't believe so, Sylvia. The water flows away from the building in that direction. It goes from left to right there. And
Yeah.
it should catch all of the water from basically, like what we said, 83 and Grove.
I think we'll protect the building, but the fields will still take a beating. And the goal would be to eventually prevent the
Yeah.
fields from taking the beating.
Correct.
but the building's gotta be our first priority.
And could I just add, I mean, we've had meetings with our engineers. Obviously, the village has their engineers through the permitting process, and I think once that really gets started, things will come up that will certainly impact, like your question on grading and things like that. You know, clearly, that's all gonna get hammered out through that process, and I think that, but just so you know, we have engineers that are really well-versed and know how to work with villages and the like, and so, like you said, preliminary, but as those discussions go on, all these types of concerns, we can pass through them, and then the experts can look at it within the existing system and what they're proposing and work with the village that way, I think.
So if we're leaving Zone 5 alone and we take care of everything else, is Zone 5 going to become a pond? Because we're leaving that untouched. You know, is that going to become like a catch-all for a lot of water? Just because it's not.
According to STR, and they've reported here last month, I believe, that should not take place, Juliet.
Okay.
I don't think, I think it's not gonna be any worse than it is in the spring.
Correct.
But what we're doing will catch that water as it
Yes.
flows to prevent it from affecting the building and the foundation.
Yes.
So I don't think we can expect that field to be dry in the spring when it's
No, it
wet.
won't be dry,
But
but
it
it
won't
won't be
be
any
worse,
worse for the
and
winter.
we're protecting everything with the project we're doing, because we're giving it a place to flow to other than into our building. That's at least the way I perceive
Yeah,
it. Am I-
just to
am I
add,
off on my-
you're off. I think it will be drier because of the tank.
But it won't be dry yet. Maybe.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have two questions. One, kind of dealing with this. Not being familiar with the topology of that area, is there any concern about this detention pond overwhelming the tanks that we're going to be installing? The unintended consequence of, we put this stuff in and then all of a sudden we're overrunning it because now we're acting as an even lower point for that detention pond, for that detention area?
Again, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, they took that into consideration.
yeah.
That's the whole point of the tanks, is to absorb. At least that's the way I perceive
Yes,
the
that's-
conversations and the direction we gave them in prior meetings. The whole point of this is to absorb what just sits there now and give it a place to flow to so it dries faster.
Yeah, I just was concerned about that pond now also draining there. And the second question I had was, when we did the audits, was there a building environmental air quality assessment done?
With the audit, yes,
And
with our facility
will we
audit.
see improvement in those things within the building itself with this project?
Not with this project, but there's continuous project that takes place. Earlier on this month, we talked about our health and wellness project that we're also going to tackle outside of the water mitigation project here as well. During COVID, we were given ESSER money to alleviate some of our HVAC hiccups so that we could improve airflow within the building during that time.
Yeah, so we voted in to purchase
Ionizers.
ionizers with the ESSER funds during COVID.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Although, I gotta say, if we can keep the water out of the building, we are going to be improving
Air.
the building itself.
yes.
I mean, that's the whole point of this, is to stop undermining the foundation, stop the moisture, you stop the mold. We
Yeah.
Can maybe try and get ahead of some of these things. I mean, that's the whole, at least that's the way I was looking at it. I don't know, maybe I was wrong, but in my mind, if we can keep the water out of the building.
And I think we all, if we own a home, if we're homeowners, we know water's probably the biggest enemy to our homes, whether it's rainwater, plumbing, leakage, all those things. So this is really addressing the priority here is just water management and flooding.
Have we got any discussions with the engineers ensured that the permitting is a local level and is, you know, no potential to raise beyond that, where county or township would get involved and really mess with schedules?
Sure. When I left that meeting, it was very positive from the village's engineering. That was how I received the information, that this will be local.
That could be.
We will see.
Yeah, it
That
did,
could be
it did
a-
come up.
that
It
could
came
be
up
a-
that.
That's a great question.
Right.
That could
It
be-
did come up that
Stays at a local level.
that's always a possibility,
yes.
but we don't honestly know
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
walked
But
away.
it doesn't, it looks like it's promising that maybe it
Yeah.
won't. but
Yeah,
it'd be out of our control.
And Carrie, you know, they're working with the county as well. That's what you're really talking about. It's gonna prolong this project to get those permits. It could be months.
The permitting, I don't think they can really express how frustrating
Yes.
the permitting process is. I've seen that.
And I know we're
Close
usually
the
pretty
initial-
good too at communicating that to the community, how it's going to impact the community, the students, the parents, the teachers. So I'm sure we've got a plan to coordinate all that, make sure we communicate and mitigate the impact as much as possible for education.
That's right. Absolutely, absolutely. Great question. One more tidbit here. The architects and engineers we're working with, as you guys know, Colby and Allen, STR, as well as Gilbane, have worked with our village here before. They have built 2 schools. So they're a known commodity with their engineers. Engineers know each other by first name, which is a plus for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions, guys? Real quick, how confident, I know it's hard to put a number on it, but in terms of percentage and mitigation, what are we talking about here? What is STR saying? Is it like total mitigation, or what's the standard industry on that?
They use the word resolve, like I said it
Okay.
earlier. The front of the building, that the water accumulation there should cease, as well on the side building by the auditorium, as well as the pathway there in the back of the building. So those were their terminologies.
Okay.
So-
Basically, you see all of the standing water eliminated with this
Okay.
project. All of the water that flows down by the auditorium, that's in the front, that's on the side, all of that would be eliminated. The regrading and and the tanks would kind of take care of that and not allow it to get to the building anymore.
Beautiful. All right, so with that said, can I get a motion that the Board of Education accept the proposal from STR Partners LLC for the stormwater enabling and stadium renovation work and the estimated budget of $10 million?
Make that motion.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Thank you, Kent. Can I get a roll call?
Rego,
Yes.
Radzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Kovac,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Tingpo Pong.
Yes. Motion passed.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah.
That's what we don't get paid
When
for, Kerry.
I'm looking at this and I have more questions, but some of these are down the road when we
Yes.
start talking about selecting contractors and contracting what that looks like. So
Yes,
it
sir.
doesn't make sense to bring those concerns up now.
James, question, with this, the construction management firm we were looking at for the building, are they going to be managing this project?
Yes, Gilbane, the one we
Gilbane,
chose together.
that's who we approved, so it's
Yep.
gonna be the same people, it's
Same.
not the whole building, but it's still a pretty major project. So we're gonna stay consistent with the people we already looked at and approved.
Absolutely.
I thought that was the name, I had to ask, once Kerry said more questions down the road, I thought I read the management company, I just want to clarify. I'm
You're
not
absolutely right.
in a brain
They're the
fog.
players, yep, that
Okay,
you guys
thank
are
you.
approved, yep.
Yeah, another question before we move on?
No, mine are
No?
down the road. I'll
Okay,
wait till
okay.
those
Okay.
times come up.
Okay, okay. So we go to the committee reports. Bensonville Community Foundation,
Nothing to report.
Nothing.
okay. DI report, nothing to report. Finance and Facilities Committee,
I think we covered it in
Yeah.
what we just did.
thank you.
Yeah.
Board Policy Committee, so welcome, Mr. Kovac, to our board plus the Policy Committee.
I'm excited for the policy stuff, so.
Did you hear that, Jose? Jose, did you hear that? You're not the only one. Now Kent is excited.
It's
Look,
good
the drier the
stuff. yeah.
subject, the more excitement I get.
We're gonna revisit that in January.
ISB delegates, so that would be me. We have a DuPage Division meeting coming up here in Downers Grove South High School, February 1st next year. And then the executive meeting, I think it's March 14th coming up, so that's the director at large, and well, we meet over there too. So
I think it's at the regional office in DuPage. Lend
Nothing to report at this time.
and NetSec?
I was unable to attend, so
Okay.
Mr.
Sure.
James.
Just the big ticket item there is like Fenton, they will start negotiations with their teachers in January, February timeline. As you all know, Mr. Jim Nelson will retire this year. He is the director of NetSec, which is the North DuPage Special Ed Co-op, where we enroll approximately 50 students at their facilities. His position will be taken over by his assistant, Mr. Todd Putnam. We're very excited. We work real well with Mr. Putnam. He comes to our building at least 2 or 3 times per semester. As I stated earlier, they lease a classroom here, and he is an awesome person to work with. So looking forward to that collaboration.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on. The next board meeting is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023 at 7 p.m. with a tentative board policy committee meeting scheduled prior to the regular meeting at 6 o'clock, January 25th. I just really want to close, before we go to closed session, I just wanted to, real quick, 'cause I missed Thanksgiving meeting last time, but closing the year since this last meeting for the year, just want to give you guys a warm thank you and how much I appreciate each of you for your care in this time that we spend, your thoughtfulness and your honesty, because our community needs us. So thank you so much for that, and wanted to thank NADMINS for the work that you do, your dedication to the school and the education of our kids, as well as the community, our village, for cooperating with us, and our teachers, our faculty. I think we've got some of the best in the state. With that, so happy holidays, and we'll go to closed session now. May I have a motion and a second to go into closed session for the purpose of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of special employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with the Illinois State Law 5 Illinois CS 122C1. Also for the purpose of the collective negotiation matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employee, 5 Illinois CS 122C2. Can I get a motion in a second, please?
So move.
Second?
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Juliet. Roll call, please.
Rego?
Yes.
Figueroa?
Yes.
Haid?
Yes.
Kovac?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Redzinski?
Yep.
Tingpo Pong?
Yes, and we're going to closed session. You guys, what, 5 on this? Take a break, come back in 5?
open session. And lastly, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Sylvia and Kent. Roll call, please.
Rego,
Yes.
Kovac,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Redzinski,
Okay.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Tingpo Pong.
Yes, meeting adjourned. Get home safe. Happy holidays, everyone.
Oh, it's from Patty. Oh.
See, she on the back.